I'd like to share some practical tips, practical learning points of my journey of last 15, 16 years of adopting and evolving with technology. So there is no PowerPoint, and I'd like you to walk with me through this journey. So from 2007 to 2012, I was doing manual total knees, and I was not happy with my x-rays because sometimes the tibia was in varus, sometimes in valgus, and sometimes the overall alignment was not great. So as we studied our cases more and more, I was convinced that I need to use some form of technology to get component and overall alignment right. So at that time, I didn't have any money. So I bought a refurbished navigation system in 2012 end. And then I started analyzing my x-rays again, and all of the x-rays were looking far better as far as component and overall alignment was concerned. That was a refurbished system, and in 2014, I procured a new system, convinced that this is the way to go. That time, my numbers started increasing, and I was running 2 theaters, one with navigation, one without navigation. And I observed very carefully what was happening to patients we were doing without navigation. And their 30-day mortality was higher. They had more hypoxemia, more increased ICU stay, more strokes, and more MIs. And then we did a prospective study of 1,000 cases in each group. And the data showed that those patients suffered more morbidity, the ones without navigation, than those with navigation. So definitely it was safer in bilateral patients because of decreased fat embolism, of not violating 2 intramedullary canals, and decreased blood loss, and decreased violations of the medullary canals. So at that point of time, when I got the data from that study, I got another navigation in 2016. So that time, then I was using 2 navigation systems. And since 2016 to this date, those who have visited our center would vouch that we not violated a single intramedullary canal. I have not used any intramedullary rod since 2016 end. And my consultants, my fellows don't know how to put an intramedullary rod. And for us, putting 2 pins each, registering the femur is 5 minutes. And we love the data that is given to us. And those extra 5 minutes give us some invaluable data, especially in flexion kinematics, which we use for better balancing of the patient. 2018 onwards, the robotics started coming on the scene. And then I went to these different centers to learn the robotic systems. We got a few demo sets in our OT, and then we decided to go for the Navio system in 2018. So how do you choose what robotic system do you want to buy or procure? You first need to be comfortable with the implant and then mate the implant to the technology. Like Dr. Nilen was comfortable doing Stryker implants for a long time, and then he bought the Stryker technology. So you have to be careful that you need to be comfortable with the implants and then mate it with that technology. So we got the Navio system. I bought it over a loan of few crore rupees, but that was a great advantage. And the advantage was mostly in the sagittal plane, because we were more accurate in the flexion extension of the femur and the tibial slope, and we were resecting less bone on the tibial side, and mostly we were putting a 9 poly. From our data collected and also given to the Indian Joint Registry, we have found out that the poly that we put in the robotic knees is 9 millimeters in 78% cases, and in computer navigation, it's about 50% cases, a 9 poly, and rest is 11 poly. But we have stopped using a 13 and a 15 poly long time back. I don't remember having used a 13 or a 15 poly in last 2 years, because you're seeing the knee much better in the kinematic plane. You are analyzing your kinematics, and you are cutting less of tibia and trying and put a 9 millimeter poly. But there is a disadvantage of buying technology, because these are all depreciating hardware systems. And a lot of us had a problem when Corey came after 2 years, and the company again said that you have to buy a new system. So never buy these systems. They are depreciating assets. Lease them out. So now I started leasing them out on an annual lease for 1 year. And when the lease is over, then you re-sign that lease. So now we upgraded to CORI last year. And CORI, as per our inputs and as the surgeons help change the technology, surgeons have to keep giving inputs to the engineers. So it's a marriage between the company, the surgeons, and the engineers. And then you need to evolve with the technology. You need to move with the technology. So CORI was a faster system, thicker bursts, bigger bursts, faster technology. And we gradually are now doing all our cases with CORI and with navigation. So one OT runs with navigation, one OT runs with CORI. And to answer Dr. Malhotra's question, about 30% of our cases are with robotics and 70% with navigation. And now we are moving to active robotics. So this was navigation, passive robotics. Now we have started to go to active robotics. So ultimate goal is to run both the theaters with robotics, one with passive, one with active. So that's the journey so far. But what we have learned on the kinematic side, most of us describe deformities as varus, valgus, FFD, and hyperextension. Friends, it's not so. It's usually a combination of these. So it's varus with FFD, varus with recurvatum, valgus with FFD, and valgus with recurvatum. And as we saw in this live surgery, when you correct the coronal plane deformity, that is varus or valgus, you also correct the sagittal plane deformity, which is FFD or recurvatum. So in recurvatum with varus, you really have to resect less of distal femur. So that interplane association of correction of coronal deformity and its implication on correction of sagittal plane needs to be understood. And technology gives us a great assessment of this fine interplay of correction of coronal deformity and its effect on the sagittal plane. We have done some work on the prevention of periprosthetic fractures. So our periprosthetic fracture rate initially was 1%. 1 in 100 cases used to have a distal femur fracture. So we reduced the size of the pins from 3.5 to 3. I got 3 millimeter Schanze screw made. And we started putting the pins as distal as we could on the femur side and as proximal as we could on the tibial side. And then we put triangular sclerotic pieces of bone in all 4 holes under vision and impact them. And that has decreased our periprosthetic fracture rate to almost 0.25%. So 1 in 400 cases gets a periprosthetic fracture now. So that's some work that we did to decrease our complications. Couple of words on the business aspect of it. I think that's also important because we keep talking of financials. So as I said, never buy this technology. Always lease it out on an annual lease. So you are free. The company takes care of the CMC and you are free to change the technology a year or 2 later. Keep evolving and changing with the technology and approach this whole subject with serendipity or an open mind. Thank you very much.